Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to a place, well, not literally, but virtually. A place where fire and ice, well, they kind of come together. History and sagas and landscapes straight out of fantasy novels. We're talking about Iceland.
Ah, Iceland.
And our guide for this journey, a comprehensive guidebook on Iceland. Everything you need to know about this amazing island.
Iceland is remarkable, really. What's fascinating is how nature, it shaped the landscape, but also the culture and history.
Okay, so let's start with that geography. The guidebook talks about stark contrasts. Towering mountains from volcanic activity, fjords carved by glaciers, and vast ice caps. It's like nature went crazy on this canvas.
And it's not just the visuals, it's the North Atlantic current. This warm ocean current flows along Iceland's coast, creates a surprisingly temperate climate for a country so high up.
Not a frozen wasteland all the time.
Not at all. Think about it this way. Without that current, Iceland's average winter temps, 20 degrees colder, Fahrenheit that is. So it makes the island livable.
That makes a lot of sense. That explains the diverse ecosystems. The guidebook mentions it all. Waterfalls, hot springs, volcanic craters.
Exactly.
About variety.
And those volcanoes. They're more than a backdrop. They remind us that Iceland is right on the mid-Atlantic ridge.
The tectonic plate boundary.
That's the one.
So those plates are constantly moving, creating this volcanic activity.
Precisely. The North American and Eurasian plates, they drift apart and magma rises. That fuels Iceland's, well, fiery heart.
So we're not just talking pretty pictures. This is serious geology at work.
Absolutely. Speaking of geology, let's talk about some of Iceland's most famous volcanoes. Eyjafjallajökull, for example, you remember the 2010 eruption, air travel across Europe was halted.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Everyone was talking about it.
It was a stark reminder. Nature can disrupt our lives, even on a global scale. And then there's Hekla. It's got a nickname, the Gateway to Hell. Medieval monks called it that. You can imagine how they saw these mountains.
Intense. I can see why they'd think that, though. What about active volcanoes today? Any that worry scientists?
Yes, actually, Kella. It's been dormant for a while, but scientists are watching it. It's known for powerful, explosive eruptions.
Like a sleeping giant.
Exactly. It shows that Iceland is always changing, shaped by forces both amazing and unpredictable.
Makes you think. Those seemingly permanent landscapes, they're always changing, really. Now, talking about powerful forces, let's talk about Iceland's glaciers. The guidebook mentions Vatnajökull, Europe's largest ice cap. It sounds massive.
It is massive, 8% of Iceland's landmass, a huge expanse of ice, shaping the landscape, feeding glaciers that create those lagoons.
Like Jökulsárlón, with those blue icebergs. The photos are amazing. What causes that blue color?
It's fascinating. The glacial ice is so dense, it absorbs every color except blue. The blue light is reflected back. That's how those icebergs get their otherworldly color. Even in the coldest places, there's hidden beauty.
Incredible. It's art, not just ice. But the guidebook mentions climate change. How's that affecting Iceland's glaciers?
Well, it's sad. Glaciers are melting everywhere. Iceland is no exception. As they melt, sea levels rise. These landscapes, they're disappearing.
It's a sad thought. Makes you appreciate them more, knowing they might not last.
It shows how delicate our planet is and how much humans impact it.
Absolutely. We need to protect these wonders for the future.
Now let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about another unique feature of Iceland, waterfalls.
They're everywhere. The guidebook's full of them. A waterfall wonderland. You have Dettifoss, Europe's most powerful waterfall. It must be incredible to see.
Oh, it is. Dettifoss is a torrent of water, pure power. It's fed by the Vatnajökull glacier, you see? Plunges over a 148-foot drop, mist and thunderous sound.
It's not just pretty, it's a force of nature. But what about the ones you can walk behind?
Ah, you're thinking of Seljalandsfoss. It's unique, truly. You walk behind the water, a different perspective entirely.
That sounds magical. The sound of the water. The mist.
It shows how Iceland's landscapes are for adventure and connecting with nature.
I love that. And the guidebook mentions so many more waterfalls, each one unique.
Exactly. There's Gullfoss, with its two-tiered drop. Skogafoss, often with a rainbow in its spray, and Svartifoss, surrounded by black basalt columns, like nature's amphitheater.
Wow, from power to serenity. Iceland's waterfalls have it all. But let's not forget the night sky, the northern lights.
The aurora borealis, it captures the imagination. The science behind it is fascinating. It's charged particles from the sun. They interact with Earth's atmosphere, creating those shimmering lights.
The celestial light show.
You got it. And Iceland is one of the best places to see them. High latitude, low light pollution.
I can see why people travel so far for them. The guidebook even has tips. Visiting during winter, avoiding city lights.
Darker is better. Imagine standing under the stars, far from city lights. Those ribbons of green, purple, pink, dancing across the sky.
Like a dream.
It is a reminder of the universe's vastness and the mysteries out there. Truly humbling. Speaking of humbling, let's talk about Iceland's geothermal wonders.
You mean the hot springs and geysers? They're everywhere. The guidebook mentions the Blue Lagoon, and then these hidden natural hot springs.
It's an interesting contrast. The Blue Lagoon. It's a luxurious spa. A global icon, really. Human ingenuity, harnessing that geothermal energy for relaxation and wellness.
It's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Those pictures, wow! Soaking in that blue water surrounded by lava rocks. It looks surreal. But those hidden hot springs, what makes them special?
Imagine this. You're hiking through a remote valley, following a trail, and then a steaming pool of water, natural heat, in the middle of amazing scenery. That's the allure of hidden hot springs, adventure and discovery, connecting with nature.
A truly authentic Icelandic experience.
Yeah.
But how do they form? It's the volcanic activity again, right?
Exactly. Iceland's on a volcanic hotspot, lots of heat underground. Rainwater seeps down, gets heated by that geothermal energy, rises back up. Hot springs, and sometimes that water erupts. Geysers.
Like Stroker, the one at Geyser.
That's the one. Shoots water 100 feet in the air, boiling water. It's spectacular. A reminder, beneath Iceland's serene landscapes, there's constant energy.
Makes you think. How much we don't know about our planet. Speaking of shaping forces, I'm curious about Iceland's national parks. The guidebook talks about 3 main ones. They all sound so different.
They are. 3 chapters in the story of Iceland's nature. First, Thingvellir National Park. History and geology come together.
Okay, tell me more. What makes Thingvellir so special?
Well, it's where Iceland's first parliament met. The Alþingi, back in 930 AD, one of the world's oldest parliaments, and it's in this incredible rift valley.
A rift valley, where the tectonic plates are pulling apart.
Exactly. The North American and Eurasian plates meet there, they move apart, creating this rift valley. You can see the forces shaping our planet.
You can literally see continental drift happening.
You can walk through the Almannagjá Gorge. It's a pathway formed by the plates separating, standing between 2 continents.
Incredible. It must feel like stepping back in time, when the Earth was still forming. But Thingvellir is not just about geology, is it?
No, it's also about history. Imagine those early Icelanders gathering in this dramatic landscape to make laws and govern themselves. An incredible sight. And you can still visit the Alþingi meeting place today, a link to Iceland's Viking past.
Thingvellir is a place to really immerse yourself in Iceland's nature and history. What about the other national parks?
Let's move on to Vatnajökull National Park. Glaciers, ice caves, and volcanoes. Different from Thingvellir, but just as breathtaking.
This is the one with Vatnajökull, right? The massive ice cap.
Yes, the crown jewel of the park. A sight to behold. You can hike to the glacier's edge, explore ice caves, see the lagoons where icebergs break off.
Like Jökulsárlón, with those blue icebergs again?
A recurring theme in Iceland. But Vatnajökull National Park is more than just glaciers. It has active volcanoes, too. Like Bárðarbunga, erupted in 2014, created a huge lava field.
Fire and ice together.
Exactly. A testament to the forces shaping Iceland. A landscape of constant change and contrast.
It sounds surreal, like something from a fantasy world. What about the third national park?
Snæfellsjökull National Park. It has a mystical feel. It's dominated by Snæfellsjökull, a glacier-capped volcano on the Snæfellsnes Peninsula.
That name sounds familiar.
It might. It's in Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's the entry point.
Oh, I remember that book. Amazing to think a real place inspired that story.
It is. And Snæfellsjökull National Park lives up to its fame. Dramatic cliffs, black sand beaches, lava fields, and of course, that volcano.
A place to get lost in the wonder of nature. So we've got history, glaciers, volcanoes, and literature. Iceland's national parks have something for everyone.
They do. Each one offers a unique view of Iceland's wonders. But let's not forget the creatures that live there. Iceland's wildlife is amazing.
Right. We talked about puffins, with their colorful beaks and that waddle. Their breeding colonies are supposed to be amazing.
They are. Imagine these steep cliffs. Thousands of puffins nesting in burrows, flying to the sea to catch fish. A flurry of activity. It shows how interconnected life is.
Incredible. But what other creatures live in these harsh environments?
One of the most iconic is the Arctic fox, a master of survival.
I read their fur changes color with the seasons.
That's right. In winter, it's white, like the snow. But in summer, it turns brown or gray, camouflaged against the rocks.
A built-in invisibility cloak.
Yep.
What about reindeer? They're not native to Iceland, are they?
Nope. Introduced in the 18th century, they live in the highlands now, adapted to the cold and sparse vegetation.
Resilient creatures,
Ah,
finding a way to thrive. Let's dive into the ocean now. The guidebook says Iceland's marine life is spectacular.
it is. The waters around Iceland are full of life. Whale watching is popular.
Oh yeah, the guidebook mentions humpback whales.
Yes, humpbacks are common. Also minke whales, smaller but fascinating.
What about orcas?
Orcas are killer whales. They're amazing. Highly social, live in pods, intelligent and skilled hunters.
Seeing them in the wild must be incredible.
It is. And then there are fin whales, second largest in the world. Imagine seeing one, gliding through the water. Huge, even compared to boats.
It's amazing how big they are. The guidebook also mentions seals.
Yes, Iceland has several seal species. Harbor seals, gray seals, ringed seals, often seen on rocks or swimming.
A marine life paradise.
Hmm.
But with all this wildlife, I imagine responsible tourism is important.
Absolutely. We have to respect these ecosystems, minimize our impact, choose ethical tour operators, keep a safe distance from animals, support conservation efforts.
It's worth repeating. We need to protect these animals and their environment.
Now, speaking of exploring responsibly, let's talk about Iceland's Ring Road, Route 1.
The Ring Road. The guidebook calls it the ultimate road trip. Driving through those landscapes, stopping at villages, experiencing all those natural wonders.
It's the best way to see Iceland's diversity. Rugged coastlines, valleys, glaciers, lava fields, all in one journey.
In an epic adventure.
Yeah.
The guidebook also mentions being prepared. Iceland's weather is unpredictable.
That's true. You need a good vehicle, a 4x4 ideally, especially outside of summer. Always check road conditions too. Some routes might be closed.
Just to be flexible.
Exactly. The unexpected is part of the fun. But the Ring Road is about more than that. It's about slowing down, enjoying the journey, connecting with nature.
A trip for the soul and the senses. Before we talk about Reykjavik, let's talk about geothermal energy.
It's fascinating. Iceland turned a natural phenomenon into a resource. Remember, Iceland's on a volcanic hotspot.
Lots of heat underground. And they've become experts at using it, heating homes, powering businesses, even those spas, like the Blue Lagoon.
The Blue Lagoon is a perfect example, combining innovation and nature. Geothermal water, rich in minerals, a world-famous destination.
Tapping into the Earth's healing powers. But beyond the Blue Lagoon, how else do Icelanders use geothermal energy?
Well, all over Iceland, you'll find geothermal swimming pools, greenhouses heated naturally, even power plants. Clean, renewable energy.
They've harnessed this resource in so many ways, a model for sustainable living. Now let's talk about Reykjavik, Iceland's capital city. It seems like a vibrant city, full of energy and creativity. What are some of the must-sees?
Well, you can't miss Hallgrímskirkja. The church with that huge spire dominates the skyline. Expressionist architecture, and the views from the top are incredible.
I've seen pictures. It's a striking building. Looks kind of sci-fi.
It is unique. And then there's Harpa, the concert hall, a modern masterpiece. Its glass facade shimmers, reflecting the sky and sea.
Art and nature again. It seems to be an Icelandic theme.
It is. That connection runs deep in Icelandic culture, for a taste of both. Check out the Perlan. It's a museum and observation deck built on top of 6 huge hot water tanks.
On hot water tanks, that's so quirky.
It is. Panoramic city views. Plus, exhibits about Iceland's nature, culture, and history.
The great place to learn about Iceland. Speaking of culture, the guidebook mentions storytelling and folklore.
A huge part of their heritage. Storytelling is deeply rooted in Iceland, tied to their environment. Imagine long, dark winter nights. Wind howling, sharing stories around a fire.
It brings people together, especially in those isolated places. What kind of stories?
Well, the Icelandic sagas, for example. Epic tales of Vikings, heroes, mythical creatures, passed down orally for generations, then written down in the 13th century.
A glimpse into the past.
Exactly. Adventure, drama, intrigue. And the Icelandic landscape is often featured, showing that connection between people and nature.
The landscapes are characters in the stories.
You could say that. And that connection to the land and myths, it's still alive in Iceland today. Some Icelanders even believe in hidden people, elves, trolls, living in the rocks and hills.
That's fascinating. Ancient beliefs, still part of their culture?
They are. It adds a touch of magic to Iceland. Speaking of experiences, you have to try the local food.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah?
The guidebook mentions seafood, lamb, unique flavors. What are some must-try dishes?
For seafood lovers, Icelandic fish is a must. Fresh from the ocean, cod, haddock, salmon, even fermented shark or dried fish.
Fermented shark.
An acquired taste. A traditional delicacy. And then there's Icelandic lamb, tender and flavorful. The sheep graze freely on the pastures.
Delicious. Icelandic cuisine is all about local ingredients.
It is resourcefulness and adaptability, using what's available to create something unique.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Iceland, I'm feeling inspired. Incredible landscapes, fascinating wildlife, rich culture, and a commitment to sustainability.
It's a place that stays with you, a reminder of nature's power to shape landscapes and the human spirit.
Well said. To our listeners, we hope this deep dive sparked your curiosity about Iceland. It's a country that deserves a spot on your bucket list. Explore it for yourselves, embrace its beauty, respect its traditions, and help preserve it for future generations.
Safe travels, and until next time, keep exploring.